Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Hurricane Watch team is here. They update on the tropics. So today we're going to be talking about the potential of a developing tropical cyclone that is forming in the Gulf of Carpentaria. Now this is going to bring, regardless of development, it's going to bring heavy rain, flooding, storm surge, and strong winds to various cities in the northern area of Australia. Now if it does meet the requirements, it may be deemed a tropical cyclone and would be upgraded to Tropical Cyclone Darian. Now in this stream today, we're going to discuss the impacts, the forecast, and the current imagery of what we have of the system. We are the Hurricane Watch team, your source of cyclone information. We're also going to be later on talking about a severe weather outbreak that is going to be impacting the southeast United States. It is currently a 4 out of 5 severe weather threat, meaning it has a moderate chance of producing and being a severe thunderstorm. Hail, strong winds, tornadoes are likely. Straight line winds of up to over 60 miles an hour. Gusts could be as high as 70 or 80 miles an hour. Flooding is going to be a threat, but I think the biggest threat is going to be those straight line winds, the hail, which could be as big as golf balls, and the threat of tornadoes. But that's me later on in the stream. Right now, I want to focus on the potential of the tropical system developing in Australia. So here, as you can see that there is in fact a system trying to develop. Now this is just in 36 hours, so this is in about a day and a half. From where we are right now, if we go to the very beginning, there's nothing. There's just some cloudiness and some light rain showers. You can kind of see the isobars over the north central portion of Australia trying to close off, but it really doesn't start closing off until it gets over the eastern portion of the Gulf of Carpentaria. And then you can kind of see it does make landfall there, very, very disorganized. I do think there's a lot of dry air still, a lot of shear. I do want to also look at the water temperatures so we know how warm these water temperatures are to see if it can actually support a tropical system. Now, from what I am seeing here, it most certainly can. Water temperatures in the Gulf of Carpentaria, we're talking above 30 degrees centigrade. 30, 31 degrees centigrade. We're talking 80, 86, 87, 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And you need about 80 degrees to support a tropical cyclone. Now, this may just be on the surface. We don't know what depth this goes to. And that is also important in understanding how much energy is in the water. As this is just on top, the very surface. I am going to go to the Australian Meteorological Agency. Or the Australian Meteorological Bureau, which is the official website for Australian meteorology. So I want to go to satellite images and just take a look at what we're looking at here. If I can get a this is so slow. So you can see that in this northern portion of Australia, we are seeing some clouds and thunderstorms developing, but we're not seeing anything very, very organized. You can see that shear, looks like some shear up here in this area, which is preventing any kind of tropical cyclone activity. There's probably some dry air in the northern portion of Australia, and that is also prohibiting any kind of storms to consolidate into a organized tropical system. So right now we're not seeing anything. I do want to go to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. That will also tell us about any kind of activity, but down here there's nothing that they are saying needs suspect areas at this time. However, I do think that over the night, maybe even into tomorrow morning, we might actually see development and they might actually recognize an area of development because it could possibly develop. But for right now, they're not saying anything right now. Just see, make sure there's no comments. Okay, this is all in Spanish. I will need someone to help me translate what that is. Someone in the chat. Okay. So that's what we're currently watching right now, is that system. Take a look here in Australia. You can in fact see that we are seeing some sort of thunderstorm and some kind of convection here. If we play the animation here, once it loads itself up. So as you can see, we are looking at some convection and some thunderstorm activity over the Gulf of Carpentaria, but again, nothing is organizing right now. Until something organizes and the models can get a hold of something that has a close, low center of circulation, until then we're not really going to see any kind of accurate modeling. They're just going to be all over the place because the models go off a center of circulation, a closed low. When you don't have a closed low, they don't really know what they're trying to predict, essentially. And so that's just what we are waiting for, to get a better idea of what this storm is going to do. Now, regardless of what this storm is going to do, we already know there's going to be heavy rain. Right now, there's already heavy rain right now in Australia. And that is only going to get worse as the system slowly develops and tracks over the entire Gulf of Carpentaria. That's what I think is going to happen. Flooding is going to be a big risk. We could see winds up to 50 miles per hour in portions of northern Australia. In northern Queensland, Australia, we could see those winds as high as 50 miles an hour, depending on how organized the system gets. We could see a little bit of storm surge, some of that water being pushed up on the western side of the peninsula right here. In that case, we could be dealing with some inland flooding, saltwater flooding in these towns, just right along here, the western coast right here, and really all along this part of the peninsula. We could be dealing with some flooding, heavy rain, but we're not worried particularly about a big, massive typhoon, or cyclone, I should say. We're not worried about a very, very powerful system, but for right now, it is something that we're going to be monitoring over the next day and a half or so until it makes landfall. Right now, we're also been watching stuff in the Indian Ocean. It's also been something we've been watching closely. You can see that right there. That could be a system, but it does show that system there in southern India is going to rapidly weaken before it even really makes landfall. By the time it makes landfall, it's going to be a remnant low. Most likely not even a depression. But you can see in its strongest phase, it's a pretty healthy system. 984 millibars at its strongest. So probably there's a center, there's an eye wall probably developing. It's probably a tropical cyclone at that point. Winds probably 70 to 80 miles an hour. It's small, it's compact, so it's going to have a relatively small eye if there is an eye. And those storms can really change and shrink very quickly. Smaller the storm, the more compact they are. Usually the more powerful they can be in terms of the North Atlantic. Now in the West Pacific, storms are usually much larger because you don't have that dry air and that extremely lower humidity values that you do in the North Atlantic because you have the Saharan Desert. So in the West Pacific, that's one reason why you have significantly more massive storms and typhoons. Typhoon Haiyan, Typhoon Tip. Typhoon Haiyan made landfall in the Philippines, and it was bigger than the entire country of the Philippines. Typhoon Tip was 1,800 miles in diameter. It was the biggest storm ever recorded on Earth in terms of size, and it was also the most powerful. The lower that air pressure is, usually the stronger those storms are going to be. So with this system in India, I don't think it's going to bring any kind of super severe impacts. If anybody has any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to go in the chat and comment any questions that you have. I also want to go and take a look at the United States, because the eastern and southeastern United States is going to be dealing with some severe weather. So I am going to go here to the Storm Prediction Center and talk a little bit about that. So right now there is a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms forecast for Tuesday, November 29th. They're saying that severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes and wind damage along with some hail are expected Tuesday afternoon and evening, extending overnight period across parts of the lower to mid-Mississippi Valley and parts of the southeast. Few strong and long-track tornadoes will be possible. So I do think the strong winds and the tornadoes are going to be a very big threat. So again, a few long-track thunderstorms are going to be possible. A deep and progressive mid-level trough is forecast to move from the central southern Rockies eastward. I also want to show you this on Tropical Tidbits, so y'all have an idea of just exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the mid-level trough, and I'm using these terms, and I will show y'all so it's a little bit easier for y'all to also understand just exactly what we're talking about. So again, they're talking about the trough, so regions, we'll just go. I could probably do, is it 251? Is that what we're looking at? I forget. Never remember, no. You can see that trough right through here. Comes pretty far south. It deepens. Notice how it goes in a negative tilt right over the southeast. On the upward wind side of that up here, we go back a little bit. So you can kind of see it kind of dips down and it starts to make a negative tilt like this. Upwind of that, you're going to start to see the molecules spread apart. The air molecules are going to spread apart in that jet stream at 34,000 feet. So up in the air, you're going to have molecules spreading apart, which is going to create a vacuum. When you get a vacuum, you get space. Something's going to want to replace that missing air. And that's when you get these strong updraft and you get severe thunderstorms, and that's where you start getting some of this hail from these thunderstorms. So that's something that we're going to be watching. That's why I think we're going to have severe weather, and particularly hail in that sense. Well, that trough, that's pretty deep too. About a positive tilt. That is also a jet stream trough right there, but it's very weak there in that sense. But this right here definitely goes negative. That is very, very concerning. I also am going to look at the so that's what we got in terms of that. I also want to look at just the precipitation. That's literally all I want to look at right now. As you can see, the precipitation, you get that storm coming through. It's just 200 hours. So they do show some severe weather down here in the southeast. I do think it's going to be a lot worse than what they're showing here. They're showing something very, very weak. Nothing super complicated. Just some rain by a cold front. And I think it's going to be a lot worse than that based on what the trough is telling me. This is also pretty good. You can see here regions, southeastern United States. You can kind of see that Gulf front as it comes coming through pretty fast. You can get some thunderstorm developing here as the cape in the atmosphere is relatively high. The convective available potential energy is relatively high, and so there's a lot of the atmosphere is very, very unstable. So I do believe that the thunderstorms are going to be very, very robust and rough. I do want to take a look at some more models for that storm there for Australia, because that is certainly something that I am concerned about, because what have they gotten too many storms this year? Give that. European model really doesn't show anything really developing at all. Not much to speak of. The CMC, not really anything super crazy either. But again, if there is anything that does develop, again, the models don't have anything to really attach to, because there isn't a closed low center of circulation. That's something that we are looking for, and we're trying to watch and find. This shows it much more robust. As you can see, it's much more powerful. I mean, literally 992 millibars. That's, that could be up to a 60-mile-an-hour tropical storm, or tropical cyclone when it makes landfall there in Queensland, Australia. And look at that heavy rain that it brings with it into Australia. And then it just kind of, hangs out there right along the coast. So if the NavGem becomes the more dominant model, if it takes that track, flooding could be a much larger risk along the east coast of Australia, and that's the big problem that we have to think about also, is the flooding risk. So we also want to talk about a possible tropical system that appears to be north of Hawaii, which I actually want to go to zoom Earth for. Is this it? It's got to be it, right? Take a look at this system right here, north of, looks like a subtropical system to the north of Hawaii. Very, very fascinating to see something just this incredible. I think if you click Control F. Trying to do full screen, but I don't remember how to do full screen. Control C, no, it's Control Copy. I don't know. So that's the system that we're also watching. I don't think it's gonna, not developing into anything, but it certainly looks like a subtropical system for sure. Developing there north of Hawaii, you can see low center circulation. You can easily see the center, and where that center is at, you can see not a whole lot, but enough convection that is developing around the system. That's just a sign that, tropics are still active in the northern hemisphere, but, it's the Central Pacific Hurricane Center did not even acknowledge that it existed. The upper level winds right here, cutting across the southern portion of it. So, I mean, another reason why the storm is just, it's just not going to develop. So you can see the center circulation is roughly right here. And it's moving in a direction like this. Oh, I see it. Wait, what? Is that it? That's not it. That's it. Hold up. Here's Hawaii. Maybe this is what we're looking at here. Now this could certainly be a system that we're watching here too. That's a system, which is an upper level. Well, that might be an upper level of this. Might be a low level over here. That could be something that we're watching, for sure. We just play this here. Put the L here. And this is just going to just move out in a direction like this. Just like a little forecast going here. Something like that. That's what I sort of think. Maybe this is just going to be completely off. We'll see. Just a guess. Or is it going off to the northwest? So that's what we have with that storm in Hawaii. Nothing super crazy with that. But I do think that it could still... Honestly, it's history making because you don't ever get systems in the Northwest Pacific or in the North Central Pacific this late in November actually trying to develop into something. And then the one off the coast of Brazil, I'll have to go back in time. I think it was November 27th. 6:55. So we were also watching a system off the coast of off the coast of Brazil, also trying to develop into something, which was also very, very interesting because that is extremely rare. Also, already November, there's already tropical systems trying to develop off the coast of Brazil, but it is now inland of Brazil. If we go to today's date. It is our circulation, looks like it's right here. But as you can see, it's bringing in a heavy rain, possibly going to be flooding there for portions of Brazil. Well, if anyone has any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to go in the chat and comment any questions that you may have, and I will answer all the questions that you have, which appear to be none, which is good. We're probably going to end this off here. Thank you all for watching the stream. We will continue to do more streams later on in the week. Tomorrow I'll probably try to do a stream, probably tomorrow morning. But that's going to be it for today. We're going to be doing an entire live stream, probably most of the day tomorrow, covering the severe weather outbreak in southeast United States. Stay tuned for that. I want to be live by roughly 9-10 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. If you are interested, link in the description for our Patreon. Feel free to join that.